welcome back to Sparrow's Nest Farm. Haven't done a garden tour in a couple of weeks. We've had a fairly rough time in our home, so it just wasn't a top priority, and honestly I wasn't feeling super motivated to be out here. So I thought I'd do just a quick update tonight before it gets dark and show you some of what I've been dealing with. Because it's honestly been one of the most frustrating garden seasons I've ever had in the 8 years that I've been gardening. So I've started at the chicken coop, for one, to show you how big the chickens are getting, but also to show you that I just gave them all of our radishes because flea beetles just decimated my radish crop. So you can see I've been giving them some kitchen scraps and I just tossed the radishes in there. The girls are getting really big. This Buff Orpington is the biggest of all of them. It's just huge. While we're over here, this volunteer squash, my mom had her yellow squash out here last year in this spot, and so there were several volunteer yellow squash that came up. Here's another one that came up. And this one is just starting to get some blooms on it, but they're not open yet. They're not big enough. This is a volunteer sunflower, and it's one that I don't recognize because I didn't have any short, squatty sunflowers last year, so I don't know. I'm curious to see what that ends up being, honestly. So let's go over to the garden and see what's going on there. We'll start with Witt's tomato, and we'll have him come in here, and you can see it's got lots of little babies. There's another armful of babies over here, and lots of blooms all the way up the top. It's showing a little bit of leaf curl just from the heat today, stressing it out, but otherwise it's really doing fantastic. It's a nice, big, healthy plant. We've got a couple of carrots in each of these tomato plants that managed to come up and survive. Not the harvest I was hoping for, but it's a little, and it'll be all right. So this is my thyme. The seeds I planted for the thyme did not come up. That ended up being true for a lot of the seeds I planted. Using old seeds, you take that risk of low germination, and unfortunately I think between the pest problems I'm having and old seeds, they just had almost no germination. So I went out and bought that thyme plant and the oregano over here, and then there's a mint a little further along, and I bought that too. This is my Amish paste tomato plant, and you can see all of the leaves are flipping over. Some of the branches are showing turning. That is a sign of pesticide damage. Now, we bought organic dirt. However, I'm starting to question how organic it was, especially we bought organic composted cow manure, but that, I don't know. I'm not sure I trust my source because of the problems we're seeing. This is the only one showing a lot of damage. This one next to it has a little bit of pesticide damage, but not nearly as much as this one. It's just got a few leaves that are turned over here. A few curly branches. So, I don't know. Hopefully they pull through. That Amish paste has only had one tomato so far. It's had quite a few blossoms, but only one tomato actually growing. This one, I believe, is my mortgage lifter. And this was from the same company as that one was. So it's possible that my pesticide problem came from where I bought the plants. It's also possible we have a cornfield just over the highway here. It's possible that they sprayed and it drifted over, but these two plants are the only ones showing problems. So maybe they're just not hardy enough. I don't know. But each of these has just a couple carrots coming up around the edges, and the carrots actually enjoy being with the tomatoes because the tomatoes give them a little shade and keep it cooler so that they can grow. Now, I have never seen a tomato plant like this one before. The leaves are super thick, almost like succulents, and it's so dense that you can't even see inside. This is a potted cherry, so it's a dwarf style plant. It's not going to get super big, and I don't know, I'm just fascinated by it. I think it's beautiful. I think when it comes to finding tomatoes on it, it's going to be challenging. Wit's indicating he saw some tomatoes in there, so that's a good sign. Now this was supposed to be cilantro. Obviously it didn't come up. It's been weeded. And this one here is my Cherokee purple. And now this one's curling. Well, shoot, it wasn't curling yesterday. Anyways, I started out pruning these to keep them somewhat under control, keep lots of airflow, because with them being kind of down in this bucket, I was worried about getting blight or some other fungal problem. However, in the last 2 weeks, they got away from me, so they're all going to be big and bushy, and I've just accepted that now. It'll be alright. Honestly, with what I'm seeing, I just want them to survive, and I don't want to stress them out if I don't have to. So, that's what's there. There are a couple of little babies on this over here. Let's see, get the blossom off of there. Cute little babies over here. I posted a picture on our Instagram page, and people said they thought it was a spider at first because of the way that the leaf around the stem curled up. So I thought that was kind of funny. My peas and lemon basil. The lemon basil's doing good, but it is bolting, and these peas, they just never grew. They never did anything. I'm pinching the blossoms off of these things regularly because it just wants to bolt. It's getting too hot too quickly. This bucket started out as my mint bucket. However, the mint that I planted from seed did not grow. And also the zucchini that I planted in the tub. The zucchini I planted in the tub did not grow. So I went and bought some zucchini, and as you can see, they're very stressed out. Hopefully they come through, because I'd really like to get some zucchini this year. This would be my first time growing a garden where the zucchini just didn't happen. That's insane to me. Zucchini's the one thing that everyone can grow. Everyone can grow zucchini. It's easy, but apparently not this year. This little chamomile guy here is the only one that came up. I planted 3 of them, and it hasn't really grown that much. It's very slow going. I don't know why. I hope it picks up. Now, some of these peas actually did grow a little bit, but some did not. And none of them have produced. At this point, I should have been harvesting the end of the peas, and we never got any peas. Now, the plants still look pretty healthy, but I don't know, they're not doing anything. My sweet basil looks fantastic, though. We tried some of it earlier, and it was very good. My echinacea never came up. The zinnias are too thick. I need to pull some of them out so that some of them can grow. That was another one that it was an old seed packet. I didn't think it would work, so I just scattered a bunch of them. And then they all came up and, you know, stuff happened and nothing got done about it. This amethyst basil I have never grown before, but the flowers are just so gorgeous. The peas on the back are the same as the other, where they're doing all right. They look healthy, but they're not really producing anything. And I don't know if they will. This here is nasturtium, and unfortunately I did not record which nasturtium I put in which pot, so if it ever flowers, I'll be able to tell. It has not changed in size or fullness in the last 2 weeks, so I don't know if it's going to flower or not. The other one hasn't either. I'll show you that in a minute. So the bean bed, I finally got some to come up, and they're looking pretty good, except that, as you can see, I've got a worm somewhere eating my leaves. There are a few spots that nothing came up in, but for the most part, I'm happy with this. I can put some more beans in a little later and get another harvest. There's plenty of time left for that. But I've got to figure out all of my pest problems. I'm assuming these came with the soil because I never had flea beetle problems last year. I didn't have the cutworm problems last year. I did have aphids, but everyone has aphids. But that's not aphid damage. I don't know. Don't know what it is. Over in the pool, as you can see, it's a little bare. The beets are the only thing that has survived the pest attack. And I don't know if you'll be able to see it on camera, but I just pulled all these radishes up and I aggravated the flea beetles. And that's what these little guys are. I don't know how well you can see them. So I kind of made those mad, and they're running around everywhere trying to figure out where their food went. I'm hoping they don't attack anything else before I can go and get something to get rid of them. Hopefully tomorrow. This is bee balm. Or at least it's supposed to be bee balm. I've never grown bee balm. I'm assuming that's what this is. But it hasn't really grown too much. And it should be growing up. So, I don't know. I guess this is a wait and see pot. This is the other pot of nasturtiums. And again, they're just not doing anything. And then there's this forage, which it's looking pretty rough too. Oh, that's got some insect damage there. But it almost looks sunburned. I guess there's a lesson in all of this. Don't get too cocky. Don't go about things thinking, I know how to do that. It'll be fine. you do get taught the lesson, whether you like it or not. And sometimes it's a hard lesson. We've been gardening for 8 years. And I have never seen the destruction that I'm seeing. I mean, weeds we've had problems with, aphids we've had problems with. You know, we had some hornworms on our tomatoes, and that's, you know, those are normal things. And I guess, you know, all these are normal too, just unusual for everything to happen all at once in one garden. So, my make-do garden is a learn to be okay with things not working out garden as well this year. It is what it is. We'll buy from the farmer's market and we'll build more beds, and next year hopefully it'll be better. So just a couple more things and I'll try and move through them a little quick. These are my green peppers, and they look amazing. They're finally starting to come up really nice now that it's getting warmer. Sorry, if I see weeds, I just pick them. These black turtle beans were old, so I wasn't sure how they were going to do. So I overplanted them, and now I need to go through. I should have thinned them out 2 weeks ago, but with things that happened, I just didn't. So I need to go through and cut about half of these out so that the other half will get a chance to grow up. And honestly, they look great too. They look really gorgeous and healthy. So I'm happy with this bed. And isn't this bed beautiful? It's just, I love it. I love how rustic and beautiful it is. And I can't wait to see these beans climb. So another empty container, and there are 2 more empty containers, things that just didn't come up. Out of this one here, the dinosaur kale came up and got eaten, so that really needs to be pulled out. This is collard greens, and it's struggling. It's getting eaten a little bit, so I don't know if that's going to make it. This is Swiss chard, and the Swiss chard's actually doing pretty good. The Swiss chard looks good. Happy with that. This curly kale actually looked really good until something started eating it. Story of my life right now. So, over here, this is a patty pan. I had planted 2 seeds in the middle of the patty pan squash, and they both came up, so I transferred the smaller one over here, and it is not happy. It's not coming up well. It's really struggling, and I think it may actually have just given up on me at this point. The patty pan looks pretty good. It's got a couple of yucky leaves on it, but most of the leaves just look really beautiful. Happy with them. That yellow squash is doing fantastic. And coming close here, we've got some babies, and we've got plenty of male and female flowers starting. So, yay, that one's actually going to produce. I had to buy this sage because my sage did not come up. And this is another bed of heartbreak. These plants all looked gorgeous last night. When I watered them, they were all looking like this one, really healthy and bushed out and nice. And today, these 2 look half dead, and that one is starting to struggle. And I don't know what happened between last night and tonight. I don't know what is killing them. The soil is still moist from watering last night. Oh, this has got, something's eating this one. If only I could find these buggers and kill them. But this one does have a flower, so maybe we'll get a jalapeno this year. I thought this had gone completely to weeds, and my best friend was over and she and her kids were helping me pull weeds out a few days ago, and I happened to notice that a little bit of parsley did come up. So I was pretty excited about that. Hopefully they survive. They're pretty puny, but they were really crowded with weeds because I just hadn't seen anything, so I just let it go. This bed was my lettuces, and flea beetles just destroyed probably 95% of what was growing here. As you can see, they don't seem to like spinach, so the spinach is doing good. And this is a romaine variety of lettuce, and that seems to be doing good. So hopefully they will leave those alone, and we might get to harvest some greens. Well, I think that's it out here. As you can see, I'm disappointed and I'm frustrated, but it'll be all right. That's life, you know? You learn to take those punches and just keep going. So, thanks for watching. I will try to have a happier update next week. Hopefully next week we'll start seeing some of these fruits ripe, and that'll be exciting. Until next time.